Hi and welcome to the weekly predictions based on astrology for the week of October 21st, 2019. First, let's go over quickly the general influences that are running in the background. One of the main slow evolving influences currently has to do with the conjunction of Pluto and Saturn in Capricorn, and that is something that has been in place this year, 2019, and will continue even stronger into 2020. And it usually coincides with increased number of major earthquakes, volcano eruptions, mudslides, problems with old buildings where the buildings literally collapse, tunnels, bridges, anything that's built inside the mountains, over the mountains, and or out of large rocks, steel, etc. May basically suffer some major transformation, including being basically completely demolished, like demolishing a large dam, for example, or as it's been happening in several countries, perhaps basically removing large buildings or even large nuclear power stations, because again, something that has to do with Pluto would be something that's related to nuclear power, among other things, or basically anything that's been standing for a long time or it has been in place for a long time, such as governmental structures or borders between the countries or status between what is the relationship between various entities, and or who is a leader. So many leaders, who have been in power for say even decades may pass, and some of them already have passed, and or they will be removed, or they will just retire on their own. But basically changes in who's in power among leadership and geopolitical changes. Another sort of background ongoing influence that's specific for the US and is in place so through about October 26th is increased focus on activities that require either taking some risks or involve military campaigns or weapons or sports, or basically, like I said, risky sort of gambling-like activities, or something that needs to be done in a hurry just because perhaps there is an international situation coming up that needs to be addressed, or a law is about to change, or the law just has changed, so something can be done and basically there's no time to waste. So this kind of influence is in place for the US through, like I said, about the end of this week. And there may be some additional announcements, especially on Monday, related to either military campaigns, like I said, or leaders, or again, it could be sports, or it could be just this pressure to achieve something very quickly and perhaps risking, taking high sort of risk while doing that. And then there are also two ongoing influences are similar for China and for US. That's in place through about November 5, and that has to do with focus on international relations, but also banks and finance, and for US also on leadership, so perhaps again changing leadership. In my blog at tosunka.com, I had specifically pointed out October 2nd being sort of the peak day of this influence, but like I said, it will be in place through November 5. And on October 2, we did have announcement about Bernie Sanders suffering from, I guess it was heart attack or some sort of a procedure that he had to be done, and that was unexpected. So something along the lines where there's some sort of either reshuffling or unexpected, news about leadership. And also focus on, for US, on immigration, again, laws, international relations. For China, something similar, as I said, also international relations and finance. But in addition, for China, there's increased influence through this November 5 period on also either tackling things with pollution or dealing with some sort of secret pressure or engaging in secret deceptive activity themselves. Also focus on sort of cutting losses, reducing the number of partners, or taking really strong implementing strong controls over who are the partners, where they can go, where they can't go, or under what conditions. So basically kind of tightening things, or like I said, cutting losses, maybe reducing things to the minimum necessary. And another thing that's sort of positive manifestation at the time is investing indeed, and I think that's what I've heard or I've seen, I guess, in the news that they're doing, is really doubling down, investing in infrastructure. So again, if there's an old building or old road or whatever that needs to be repaired, that's a really excellent time to do that, because otherwise things will really crumble. So anything that's started this time may also stand the test of time. At the same time, some projects are coming to an end where they really also need to be perhaps demolished or completely replaced. So now let's go and over the exact days. And for Monday, and I'm actually recording this on Monday, they had already ended. So I can see already that my prediction as far as direction for Monday was incorrect. I posted it the day before on my blog, and I thought that today would be a fairly strong down day. Is actually an up day, although Dow Jones indeed wasn't doing very well because of Boeing stock really suffering, having some problems today. Additionally, for Monday, the strong influence, my prediction was that there will be strong influence on leaders, as well as weapons, military strikes or military activities, campaigns, etc., either beginning or ending, and that the issue may involve either governmental entities or large corporations, and or be related to, say, homeland security, farmlands, maybe damage to land, protecting the land, or some land where this activity is happening is going to be, the farmland, and that the announcement may divide public opinion. So you have like half and half. Some people are sort of for, some people are against, and also there may be concerns about increased sort of governmental or corporate controls over the situation. So I haven't really heard any special announcements about a particular campaign starting or ending. I did see there was some news about that there are tensions with Turkey, and then indeed, if things kind of continue to, I guess, relations continue to deteriorate, that there may be increased, threats in that regard. I'm not sure how sort of serious that would be. That said, whatever the situation that has been unfolding today, whether or not it was in the news, it is something that is going to continue to escalate to the end of this week. And at the end of this week into like Monday of the next week, there is focus on indeed governmental controls, sort of military activities, anti-governmental protests, as well as increased earthquakes and or issues that deal specifically with these Saturnian domains such as steel, coal, minerals, metals, etc. And indeed, if there are increased tensions with Turkey or really any other country that specifically is involved with, trade or shipments of, say, steel or production of steel, minerals, etc., there might be some problems with that globally, where there might be some concerns either about supply of these kind of commodities, or they may not be able to be shipped easily, or again, something breaks, maybe a plant can't produce as much. So this could be just one angle of it, where indeed if relationship deteriorate or there's some sort of additional tariffs imposed by US and Turkey, that indeed might affect steel prices, and that's towards the end of the week. And that may be related to something that's happening already on Monday, Tuesday, perhaps. So then on Tuesday, market direction, I give it about 55% that it would go up. And at the same time, I thought again on my prediction that it would be a reversal from the direction on Monday, since on Monday the direction was actually up. It's quite possible that indeed on Tuesday it's going to reverse to down, just because there's a strong aspect that often indicates a reversal from Monday to Tuesday. So even though I posted my predictions as that the market would go up, I think now that since the Monday actually turned out to be an up day, the Tuesday may actually be a down day. But either way, obviously, I'm not 100% sure of it. It's a very 55% chance. And if there is indeed an up move on Tuesday, it would be based on something that's not necessarily real, like it's not a solid report of some gains, but rather it would be based on some sort of hopes and or on prices of oil, or some news about pharmaceuticals, chemicals, or on some misinformation perhaps even. Also for China, 22nd of October, Tuesday is an important day where we may hear some increased news about finance, loans, debt, like rates, and international agreements. There may be some slight minor negative news where we may hear about some conflicts or pressure negotiations, some deceptive moves either by China or by the partners, or some hidden motives, so something that's slightly shady, so perhaps manipulating currency or something like that. So for Wednesday, October 23rd, I think the market will go down about 65% chance, and for both China and US, Wednesday, Thursday look like important dates. For US, October 23rd through 24th may see increased focus again on leaders, military conflicts, or again, as I said before, rash or risky moves, and especially those may be related to finance, investments, again, bank rates, loans, debt, taxes, or tariffs, and international relations, long-distance shipments, laws and immigration. So it could be, like I said, something that is a preemptive move before some law changes, or some law changes, or some international agreement changes, and therefore the move follows to kind of quickly act based on that. And for China, the 23rd may also see focus on finance, bank rates, earnings, expenses, and there may be on the one hand minor positive news, so maybe increased earnings or some sort of a deal is reached that's beneficial to China, or investments may increase in the country. At the same time, there may also be news about also conflicts or rash or risky moves, and or making some sort of strong threatening statement. So those are not going to be like actual aggressive moves as in actions, but rather maybe deals where they will be pushy to accomplish their goals. And again, it may actually be a deal, the deal may be reached that actually is beneficial for China in some ways, especially in the area of finance, and or there just may be strong sort of arguments and even verbal threats or kind of threatening remarks during the negotiations. So on October 24th, Thursday, I think it will be also a down day, about 65% chance. Friday, the 25th, I think will also be an even stronger indication, 65 to 70% chance that the market would be down. And Friday will be a fairly eventful day and into weekend and into next Monday, where, as I said, there's going to be a really strong probability of serious earthquakes, mudslides, disasters with building collapsing, or perhaps reshuffling in some governments, or some changes in the leadership of, say, a large corporation, or somebody passes away, or the leader is under threat of being removed, anti-government protests, and projects that involve, again, minerals, metals, large sort of objects, construction on a really massive scale. So there may be some news about it. Either, if the project begins at this time, it may actually be a long-term project that may be successful. Vice versa, if there is a building that really should have been repaired but hasn't, now is a time, where that something may collapse, and unfortunately, it can be felt, by many people. And that's a global influence, not just for, China or US, for example. Let's see. And what else? For Monday, I think it will also be an important day where market most likely will, the Monday, the 28th of October, where the market will be down. And we will hear continuing sort of news about the protests, conflicts involving either governments or large corporations, and generally stressful news because of, again, either earthquakes or some disasters or some problems with minerals, metals, especially steel, and particularly pre-open or very early Monday morning, the 28th, there might be news about finance or some surprises or rates or currencies and or airspace, so maybe Boeing again, telecoms, or any sort of these social media, IT companies, anything that's like based on the internet, or cryptocurrencies or services that are provided on the clouds, some cloud providers, some services may be down, or some surprises may be announced as far as the value changes, so maybe value changes in the currency, or value changes as far as the services that these providers offer. And let's see, is there anything else worth mentioning? And generally speaking, the 25th and 27th, especially the 26th of October, may see additional increased rather tensions between US and China, just because both countries will experience some important transits in their charts. So somewhat of a tense week, I would say, both in terms of weather and in terms of international relations. So I hope this was useful, and hope you have a fantastic week despite all these predictions that maybe sound a little bit negative. And I'll catch you guys later. See you next time.